Hi everyone. I wanted to talk to you today about an important leadership concept that all leaders must get a strong grasp on, and that is modeling appropriate behavior in the workplace. And that comes in three main ways that we'll talk about here today. First is in communication, second is in internal collaboration, and lastly, just appropriate workplace behavior. You know, it's difficult for your head to leave the room and leave the rest of your body behind. And in much the same way, it's tough for your arms or your legs to leave the room and leave your head behind. Because as the head goes, so goes the body. And this is what happens in organizations as well. Leaders model the behavior that the rest of the body, the organization, their employees, will then pick up on and start to carry out on a day-to-day basis because they're showing what the true DNA, what the true culture of an organization is. So the first area that leaders must model appropriate behavior in is in their communication. The way that you communicate to folks down the ladder as well as up the ladder. The way that you communicate to people when they're in meetings or especially when they're not in the room, the way that you communicate about people also sets a tone in your organization for how communication should take place. And believe me, your employees are watching and they are listening. And the way that you communicate sets clues for them as to what's appropriate for their communication style as well. The second piece is going to be in your internal collaboration. The way that you work with other departments, the way that you talk about them, whether you create collaboration or you create negative competition, whether you create infighting and whether you create silos, that all sets the tone for your employees as well. It lets them know whether they should work with other departments or whether they should not go the extra mile for them based on how you act and based on the behaviors that they see you putting forth as a leader. But really the most important thing that I want to talk about is in appropriate workplace behavior. Obviously we've all seen the news about Me Too movement and all of the lawsuits and the claims that have come up about harassment in the workplace. But how many times have these been leaders in organizations that model that type of behavior, that set the tone that these types of things, these words, these actions were acceptable in the workplace? Obviously, people beneath them saw that and took a clue from that to say, these are things that I can say, these are things that I can get away with in the workplace. And in many cases, far too many cases, they were inappropriate behaviors and actions that have now gotten a lot of these leaders and employees in hot water. So, as a leader, the way that you behave in the workplace, from a communication standpoint, from an internal collaboration standpoint, but most importantly, from a workplace behavior standpoint, truly sets the tone for the rest of your organization. It reminds me of a commercial back in the 80s where a father storms into his son's room with a box of drug paraphernalia. And he asks his son, he said, "Where did you learn this? Where did you get this? Who taught you this?" And his son responds by saying, "You. I learned it by watching you." How many times in organizations is that the case? So again, as a leader, please take this cue to just examine your own behaviors because you truly do have a mark and an impact on your organization and everyone around you. That's why you're in a leadership role. Have a great day, everyone.